Alrighty, this is Matty Boo Batty from Smash Tokyo Toys. I have a story to tell, and I have to get it out because if I don't tell it, I'll forget about it. Although that might not ever happen in my entire life. If you have seen my Instagram over the last couple of days, you would know that I have just experienced a once in a lifetime Shogun Warriors fire sale. The greatest, most insane thing ever to happen to anyone. So on Saturday morning, me and my friend were sitting in a toy store and whoops, what would happen? But someone came in with a bunch of super rare toys and they said, "Oh, you guys interested in these?" And we were like, "Fuck yeah, we're interested in those." And they said, "Well, that's interesting because my father has a 60-year-old robot collection and he just wants to get rid of it." And we were like, "Wow, really?" And she said, "Yeah, he lives three hours up into the mountains. It's a really long drive, but if you're keen, he just wants to unload all of these toys." And we were like, "Do you know what they're called?" And this lady said, she was an absolutely lovely lady. She said, "I think they're called Go Die Go something. They're from Japan." And we were like, "Go Daikins?" And she said, "Yeah, he has like mint boxed ones stacked to the roof. You wouldn't believe it." And we were like, "Hey, we will jump in the car right now if you want." And she went, "He's a bit busy. Come tomorrow." So yeah, we wrote down that address and we were like, "We will jump in that car and we will be there first thing in the morning." So Sunday morning comes and I'm like, "Hey, I've got a credit limit. I can only take out $1,000 at a time." And, we write to this old man. And he's like, yeah, bring whatever. I don't mind. So we get in the car, jump in, go for a drive up the highway thinking we're going to have a jolly little drive because, we're Australians. Nothing really bothers us. Well, fuck no. We end up driving through cornfields. I'm thinking, shit, if a whole bunch of kids come out of that cornfield with sickles, we're dead. Up through the friggin' mountain range, across Dell and bloody high water, until eventually after 3 hours, we come to this huge estate. There's no bloody phone reception. I'm thinking it's a Hills Have Eyes situation. And anyway, we're an hour early, and eventually this man comes out and he's like, "You looking for me? You looking for toys?" And we're like, "Yep, that's us. We're the toy guys. We're here looking for toys." He says, "Oh, come on in, come on in." First thing we notice, we walk into this house, and it's huge, is this guy, it's like a American Pickers moment. He has everything. He's got coins, he's got stamps, he's got frickin' crystals, he's got everything everywhere. And everything is worth big money. Big money. Big, 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 big. So he takes us into this room and he goes, and we see this glass case. And you know what it's got in it? Frickin' Star Wars prequel animatronic things that are worth about $10. It's Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, press a button and they move a little bit. Horrible, horrible things. And he says, "What do you think of those?" And we were like, oh. I was like, "Oh, no, those probably aren't our scene." But in the same cabinet underneath is boxed 1984 jumbo vintage turtles, whole set of them. And I was like, we're a bit keen on those. So he takes us outside, takes us for a walk around, and he's got this massive shed. And I was like, "Oh, this is it, American Pickers moment." And he opens up the shed and it's full of tools. And he starts showing us how he's a great sculptor. He sculpts wood, he sculpts stone. Yeah, and that interests me. I love that. I'm into sculpting. Thought it was great. This old man does amazing things. He then takes us out and he shows us his 100-year-old bonsai trees. Holy shit. I didn't know bonsai trees could grow to 100 years old. It was amazing. Shows us all the things. And guess what? We love all that. Very interested. Well, that he likes that we're interested in his things. So he says, "All right, boys, I'm going to show you some Shogun Warriors." And we're like, "Ooh, Shogun Warriors, this is what we're here for." Takes us into a room that is freaking filled with fossils and crystals and amazing shit. Probably worth $1 million, this collection. And there in the corner are the 5 original Shogun Warriors. And we're like, "Okay, that's cool. 5 Shogun Warriors, but those are common. You can get those anywhere." But sitting behind them is a whole bunch of frickin' Steve Austin $6 Million Man figures. Even a couple of his boss, Oscar Goldman. And I'm like, oh shit, there's some gold right there. There's even a couple of Mego Hulks. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So maybe we'll get some Shogun Warriors out of this 3-hour trip. And he says, yeah, I don't really want to sell any of those. And I'm like, what the hell? But right behind them, there's this black Jumbo Machinda. And I'm like, I've seen that before. I don't know what that is. And he goes, you can have that one. I don't really want that one. I don't know what it is. And my friend's like digging me in the side and he's like, Japanese Spider-Man, Japanese Spider-Man. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And eventually my brain goes, it's a Jumbo Leopolden. Holy shit. Is that like fucking super rare? Of course it is. And this old man just says, you can have that one. I don't even know what it is. So now I'm like going, okay, now we're getting somewhere. We've got some Steve Austins. We've got a Jumbo Leopolden. And we walk back into the workshop and we notice all along the top, we can actually see all these Jumbo Machinda legs. Jumbo Machinda legs all along the top. And he goes, now if you want to go get that ladder, you can go up there and lift that tarp. He goes, because there's quite a few Shogun Warriors up there. Like loose ones, but they're all complete. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, but I must warn you, I got to warn you, we do have a lot of visitors. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he goes, well, look over there. So on the other side of the workshop on the top shelf, there are 2-meter long snake skins. Remember, we live in Australia and this is the mountains. And I went, holy shit. So when you say visitors, you mean snakes. I said, man, I'm like more scared of snakes than Indiana fucking Jones. And he goes, well, I have to tell you, there is a lot of fucking Shogun Warriors up there, but there's also a lot of snakes. Fuck me. So to get to the Shogun Warriors that are on the top shelf, you probably have to crawl through a lot of snakes. So my mate's there and he's like, oh, well, I'm not climbing up the ladder. And he's got a broom and he's like trying to lift this 30-year-old tarp, which clearly has Shogun Warriors under it. So I'm like, fuck me. And I get the ladder and I put it up and I start to climb up. And as I'm climbing and I see that there's like 5 Shogun Warrior legs, and I can see behind that, there's another 5 and another 5 and another 5. And I lean down and I'm like, give me that broom. And I start to lift it up. And I said, holy shit, man, they don't stop. And he says, what do you mean? I went, they don't stop going back. And he says, well, how many do you think there are? And I'm like, well, I can see 5 rows of 5 to start with. And he goes, put your hand in there. I said, fuck no, I'm not putting my hand in there. So finally we get this tarp off and there's shit flying everywhere. Dust, this is like 30 years of dust. And we get it off and I start pushing them down, pulling them down, pulling them down, pulling them down. And he goes, how many? And I'm like, at least 30. There's at least 30 loose, complete jumbos up here. And we're handing them down. I said, just be careful. This one has a full wasp nest on it. And he's like, fuck, a wasp nest? I'm like, yeah, it's got a fucking wasp nest on it, man. And he's like, are there any snakes? And I'm like, I don't care if there's snakes anymore. So I'm pulling them down. So if you looked at my Instagram recently, you would see the photo of the 30 jumbos. So now I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. This is Australia, man. I haven't seen a Jumbo Machinda online for about 10 years. So here is a shit ton of them. Now, in the photo, you can see some of them don't have arms, and we'll get to that. So we get them all down. We're trying to clean all the wasp nests and shit off them. And the gentleman says, so guys, I've got some parts for those in here. We go into this other room, and it's a long, thin room, and it's got racks all over it. And we go in, and I'm like, oh, okay, here's some stuff. And there is like a whole shelf, and it is like bags of missiles, shurikens, swords, bloody cutter arms, freaking flying fists, missile fists, shuriken shooters. It's like the freaking bonanza of parts for the Shoguns that were outside. And I'm like, I pick up this thing and I'm like, I think this is the lower part of a bloody Jumbo Machinda Poseidon, the wheel part of him. And then I'm like, that means there's a Jumbo Poseidon somewhere here. Well, we haven't found it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's in the stacks of shit we brought back. So we're like, and he says, okay, so that's all the parts for that. And we look through this room and there's not much in there. It's all like carded manga stuff. And well, no one wants to buy carded manga stuff. And it's all modern carded manga stuff. And so we're excited. We load up the car with all of these jumbos, and that takes up the entire back seat. And the gentleman went, "So it's been about an hour. You guys must be getting excited for the Godiekins. Did my daughter tell you I have Godiekins?" And we were like, "Yes." And he said, "Well, come over to the next shed." And so we get to the next shed, and it's a walk-in fridge, like they have in restaurants, like a gigantic walk-in fridge. And he says, "This is where I keep my wine collection." We open the door, because he struggled to open the door. So we open the door, and the entire one room is stacked to the roof of giant plastic boxes. And straight away, the first thing I see is it's like my dream grail, the things that I've always wanted. The first box has this, ready? Now, in here, there is a mint Rodan. It has all its original rubber bands, all of its original strings. I don't know why they're not deteriorated, but they're not. Mint. Mint box Rodan. That's the first thing I see. Underneath it in the box is two Matchbox Voltrons. So there's a Dyruga and then the Lion Force Voltron. And underneath that is, I think it's Daltanus. It's like it's got a big lion on its chest. These are all like beautiful mint box. And then under that, I think, was the Voltus 5. Now, the first cartoon I ever saw when I was a kid I was about 5. I saw Voltus 5, and it was the movie length version. And that just blew. So I pick up this box and I went, "This is all I want." And the old man went, "Yeah, sorry, I can't sell those." And I was like, oh, I literally sat down on a box and went, oh. And he went, You can have that Shogun Warrior on the top of the bird. I don't want that. I don't even know what that is. You can have that one. I don't want that. So that, you could literally see me flip it behind my back, catch it in my left hand, and stick it on a box. And I was so sad. I was like, ah. And I turned to the other wall, and on the other wall, stacked 10 deep, were boxed, beautiful Shogun Warriors. Like boxed, like 10 of them. And then next to it was another 10 of doubles. And I just said, "That's okay. I'll just take these." And he went, "Oh, yeah, that's fine, as long as you leave me the doubles." And I just thought, I was like shaking. I said to my friend, "Has this ever happened to you? Am I awake right now? Or am I in some sort of stupid dream I'm going to wake up from and be really sad?" And he was like, This is real. And I said, "Has this ever happened to you? And like all the time you've owned a store?" And I said, "Because I owned a store back in the 90s and I've never heard of this happening to anyone." And he was like, "Nope, this doesn't happen to people." And I was like, "Oh, wow." So here I am loading up all the box Shogun Warriors. And he's like, You think you should look in those just to make sure that those are fine." And I went, "I don't need to look in them. I'm just going to trust you." And he was like, "You seem very excited." And I went, "All I've ever wanted was to own these things." And my friend's like, "There's a Die Jupiter here." And I went, "That's like my favorite toy as a kid." And he's like, "Well, I don't think this one's even been opened." So this stuff doesn't happen to people. We spent like the next 3 hours opening all these boxes and going through them. The things we found, this is like that haul that people dream about. And then, I'm telling you, this gentleman's like, we're like, "Look, sir," I said, "I'm really embarrassed. I only have $1,000. And he was like, "That's fine. That's fine. $1,000 is fine." And I was like, "What?" I kept thinking someone was going to spring out with a camera and tell me I was punked. I couldn't believe it. At one point, we opened this, there was like a box and it was full of like wrapped items. And I opened it quickly and went, and my friend was like, "What's that?" And I went, and inside were vintage IG-88 dolls, and they were perfect. They had all their orange grenades, they had the weapons, everything, and I was like, another one, many. So this was that deal. This is the most insane toy story ever. If you can top it, if you can tell me you came across an estate sale or something that was better than this, I'd like to hear it, because I nearly cried. I nearly cried when this happened to me. All I've ever wanted was a Die Jupiter that was in mint condition. And they were just there. They were just sitting in piles everywhere. So the only thing that we didn't get was the Voltrons and the DiJupiter and the Voltus 5. But we got pretty much every other, Diaclone, die-cast toy you could think of. They were just stacked to the roof. So we spent all the day like pulling them out and going, what about this? Oh, you can have that. No, what about this? Oh, you can have that. And I'm like, I don't think you can fit in the car. How are you going to come back? And my friend's like, I don't care. Just get the toys back, come back and get me tomorrow or the next day or whatever. Whatever. That's what we did. It was the most insane toy day ever. I put up pics. I had to take some down. I don't want to upset anyone or, there are people who do get upset by these things. I did tell this gentleman that I'm definitely keeping all of the things that I got. We did divide it between me and my friend. My friend is a reseller, but I am not. And I will be keeping the robots that I bought for my own collection. And I have no idea what the value of these things are. I do tell people on the internet I don't know what they're worth. I get people say, go on eBay and have a look. eBay is the worst place to try to price toys, and I just don't do it that way. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my insane toy story. I'm sorry that no taipans bit me on the face or anything, but that absolutely could have happened. It was just probably the best day I've had for 10 years in terms of toys. If you know how much this is worth, please tell me, because I have no idea. Not that I'm selling it, but I see crazy prices on the internet and I'd love to know. So if you know, give me a ring or message me. All right, thanks for watching. I will get a new Smash Tokyo Toys video up soon. Keep in touch.